I want you to sort of loosen up here. I know it's hot in here, even for a Texan. And so if you want to undo your tie, you want to unbutton the top buttons of your blouse or shirt, or even if you want to open your robe, provided you put something on under, then feel free to do so. I want to thank you, President Paxson, members of the corporation, members of the faculty, honorees, parents, and especially thanks to you, the members of the class of 2018. Welcome to the First Baptist Church, not the First Baptist Church in Providence or in the state of Rhode Island, or even New England, but the First Baptist Church in America. Today we are steeped in history, not just with this church, but Brown's history as well. The class of 2018, I'm just now getting to know you. In fact, if I happen to know any of you individually, it's probably not a good thing. Because you really don't want to be invited to the university attorney's office when you're an undergrad. Come back as an alum. But from my distant perch, I've been watching you go from one triumph to another, as you have changed and as Brown has changed you. You started grade school with Harry Potter, and you're finishing college with 50 Shades of Grey. Believe me, it only gets grayer from this point on. But it is a big change, and on the last full day of your career as Brown students, you are ready for the biggest change of all. On this special occasion, we have been brought together to celebrate that change. Graduates, family, faculty, and alumni in one place, reflecting on our time at Brown. Commencement reminds us how fortunate we are to temporarily inhabit a place like Brown, where time is measured not in seconds, but in centuries. History is dynamic. Today is tomorrow's yesterday. A chapter of your history is ending today, and another begins tomorrow. How might history record the significant occurrences of your time here? Perhaps with a few of the words that have stirred you and all of us over the past 4 years. Black Lives Matter. Me Too. Time's Up. March for Our Lives. With remarkable brevity in 2, 3, and 4 words, these slogans have captured some of the most important social justice movements of our time. By themselves, the words convey simple thoughts, but when added together in the right sequence, they can summon powerful emotions and a demand for justice that I hope we never stop seeking. As I look back on my own life growing up in the era of desegregation and integration, I too was a part of a generation that navigated the social justice issues of our time, sometimes passively, sometimes very actively. With the advantage of hindsight, I feel that these movements were among the highlights of my life. I'm grateful for what they did for me personally and for the simple joy they gave me to belong to a cause that was greater than myself. Brown is also a place that believes in great causes. I am proud of the hard work that Brown has undertaken to deepen our understanding of the past and of the contributions of peoples that might otherwise go unrecognized. Specifically, Brown has acknowledged the role that slave trade played in its early years. Brown's Slavery and Justice Initiative is now widely admired and imitated on other campuses. It was an important step in allowing us to see Brown's history as one coherent story, inclusive, drawn from many different sources, and it fits squarely inside one of Brown's oldest traditions, building lives of usefulness and reputation. Yes, usefulness and reputation. I was surprised to learn that in a recent survey, some students said they didn't understand the words usefulness and reputation, words prominent in the Brown Charter of 1764. If I were to restate the charter in simple English, plain language, it would read that institutions of liberal education are highly beneficial to society, and that by forming rising generations, that's you, prepare young people to discharge the offices of life with usefulness and reputation. Let me be clear. In order to get into Brown, you had to demonstrate a level of academic achievement and show merit and promise in other ways. In fact, we were judging you on usefulness and reputation even before we admitted you. Family had a lot to do with that, and they still will. But on the day your parents dropped you off at Brown, you began to expand beyond family. Students and faculty with vastly different ideas became a part of your everyday life. You learned that some of life's most difficult lessons are the most valuable because they come from the people least like us. Over time, you harmonized what you learned from your family, friends, and professors, and began to synthesize it all into a unified way of thinking. Not just thinking, but doing. You have been wonderful. Let me repeat that. You have been wonderful at lending your voices to so many good causes. You have advocated on behalf of economic diversity, heightened the university's awareness of environmental issues, and made clear your acceptance of others that come from different places or lead different lives. You had done more than usher in an era of tolerance for difference. You have rejected intolerance based on difference. The causes you have embraced are important. As you continue to speak out against injustice and inequity, I hope you will consider lending your hands as well as your minds to the causes that your heart embraces. Let me give you a few examples. It's one thing to defend the rights of the homeless. It's another to build homes for the homeless so that they are not homeless at all. Petitioning legislatures to make more funds available for schools is important, but so is volunteering to tutor students in low-income neighborhoods. Marching to eradicate hunger is great, but collecting food and helping to serve it at soup kitchens makes you special in a different kind of way. When you take your beliefs and act upon them, elevating others as well as yourself, you are leading lives of usefulness and reputation. It's not about how many people like you on Facebook. It's not about your status in the world. It's about principles, not paychecks. What Brown asks of you is that you discharge whatever station in life you choose with unselfishness, that you take the time to bring others along with you. My years before Brown, but particularly my years at Brown, have underscored that lesson for me. I was born in a small town in East Texas. I grew up in a predominantly black world. Almost everyone I knew or went to school with or went to church with was black. In many ways, that was comforting. I didn't know the world could be different, but I knew that it should be different. Despite being deprived of some of the advantages of white neighborhoods with better schools and better facilities, I nevertheless grew up with the kind of confidence that comes from the love of family and neighbors. I was still living at home when the civil rights movement began. I was inspired by the courage of young students who endured racial taunts, were spit upon, and more as they attempted to integrate educational institutions across the South. I admired those courageous students and marchers who were taking such great risks to demand justice for all. That admiration continued in my college career at Howard University, where I learned how important it is to make a difference in the lives of others. One day stands out special for me. August 28, 1963. My gosh, maybe your grandparents remember it. Perhaps you've read about it. You will recall, if you have, that this was the day of the now famous March on Washington, the March on Washington, and Dr. Martin Luther King's address to a divided nation. It was an amazing day. Not only did 250,000 people show up to march, they all showed up in the same place at the same time and without cell phones. Along with a few friends, I took an early bus to the mall. From the start, I knew it was a momentous occasion. It was a long day, a hot day too, and the only way we could refresh ourselves, in other words, find a restroom, no porta potties in those days, was by purchasing movie tickets and using their facilities. I saw 2 movies that day. No, let's be truthful. I bought 2 tickets. But I'm happy to say that I was front and center when I needed to be. I was just a few rows in, all standing beside the stage on which Martin Luther King stood. I did not need the amplification of a microphone to hear him. His voice was loud, clear, and passionate. I actually heard those beautiful words spoken as if a single human being was speaking to another human being, me. I can still hear them. Dr. King said, "We will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream." Little did I know at that time that justice would play a role in my career. As General Counsel, Brown's chief legal officer for the last 40 years, much of my time has been spent on issues of justice, both in the narrow sense of the word, legal arguments in various tribunals and forums, and a lot of amici briefs, and in the larger sense of developing policies and procedures that address the university's values and ideals. I can tell you, being a part of Brown's administration was not always easy, but it was always interesting. As the university's advocate, I also tried to protect you as well as the university. That could be challenging at times, but you are what you are. You're unique and complex individuals, and you behave in certain ways that sometimes distress others. Sometimes. You would be amazed, and now wait just a minute. I'm your counsel, so I'm not going to tell any individual secrets, so be safe. But you would be amazed at how many ways you can get the university and yourselves in trouble. Now, this is over the course of 40 years, so I'm not calling out anybody in the audience. You danced on roofs and fell through skylights. Then you questioned Brown as to why there was a skylight there anyway. You brought Christmas trees into your dorm rooms. Unfortunately, they were chopped down from the lawns of our neighbors. You lost almost everything, some including that they lost their souls. To this day, I haven't figured out the remedy for that one. And for critics of the university, and there are many, the Brown Band is proof that free speech is alive and well on this campus. Representing Brown in small matters is the life of counsel, but opportunities do come along to make a difference. I came to Brown 40 years ago, and that was very important a year in the annals of education law. A famous case, Regents versus Bakke, threatened to unravel affirmative action at universities. I am so pleased that universities refused to bow down or bow out. They went to battle to preserve their efforts to make the American dream real for historically disenfranchised populations. Those populations include many, though we may have originally thought of them as only relating to race, ethnicity, or gender. For instance, when I came to Brown, I was asked by an administrator whether or not I had endured certain things and what was most important in my history. What was the greatest influence? Was it being black or was it being a woman? And I thought for just a moment, you know how you always say, that's a great question? Well, I thought maybe that's not such a great question, but I think I have the great answer. In answering whether or not being black or being a woman had made the greatest difference in my life, I responded that there was no good answer after all. I was born black and female on the same day. We can't always, nor should we ever be compelled to compartmentalize our lives. Even though there are cases that are important and have long-lasting consequences, there are days that we will persevere and there are days that we will triumph. Sometimes we will not. In the case that I was mentioning, the immediate case was lost, but affirmative action endured and was later recognized in a case that I and others, including some of your trustees, had a chance to support in amici briefs. That case laid the framework for Brown's current initiatives on diversity and inclusion. Now, life on campus is very complex. Brown navigates a sea of change, and change is constant. When the policies and procedures of Brown are changed, modified, there are always people who are unhappy. There are always individuals that don't think they got what was right. As much as they might try, universities are never going to be successful in pleasing everyone. Issues based on facts known or credibly revealed to them, they must navigate using the tools and resources given to them. They seek resolution to the most difficult questions and concerns in a heavily regulated environment in which conflicts are played out in both courts and the media. They must trust the experience of faculty and staff, the wisdom of trustees and advisors, and their faith in the student body in order to survive. In our quest for solutions, we have to settle sometimes for the good, not the perfect. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, U.S. Supreme Court Justice, commented on why the U.S. Supreme Court's decisions were the law of the land. She said, "We're not final because we're right. We're right because we're final." Through legal counsel as well as institutional advocacy, universities have made powerful statements on behalf of the underprivileged, the underrepresented, the underserved, and the undocumented. My journey through Brown, like yours, has taken me from the comfort of family and friends and exposed me to a world that is less certain, full of unseen challenges. I hope many of you, as I did, will find sustenance through faith in the broadest sense of that word, a belief that the future will be better and that your work will be essential to ensuring better outcomes. Perhaps rather than looking at faith through the lens of any particular religion, we can embrace it as it is referenced in Hebrews 11:1. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Dr. Martin Luther King was a man of faith, but he was also a student of history. He rooted his dream in the American dream. He called the Declaration of Independence a promissory note, meaning that its broad assurances of equal rights would come true someday, even if they were not available to certain segments of the population at the time it was written. Your diploma is also a promissory note. I'm sure your parents will appreciate that it's a very expensive promissory note. It holds the promise that you will continue to achieve great things long after you leave this campus. I began with the 2 3-word phrases that reflect our deepest thoughts and our desire for change. When you came to Brown, your parents most likely accompanied you. They met your roommates, suite mates, neighbors, hall advisors, student support staff, administrators, and others. This was the handoff of their lives. They were entrusting others with their most precious asset, you. They were handing over their day-to-day oversight to the university you chose, Brown. At the end of that weekend, when you were moved in, made friends at the Ratty, explored there, and showed every sign of being ready for independent living, they attended a meeting with the president. The president expressed the most important sentiment of the day to the parents. "We've got this. Go home." Now, 4 years later, you have enjoyed the benefits of an Ivy education. You have made your family proud. You've bonded for life with those who share your hopes and dreams and that you call friends. You've earned the respect of your professors and the admiration of the administration. There is nothing more to be done, nothing else that the faculty and administration can do except say, "Go home." I am also leaving Brown this year after 40 years. It's been my home as well as yours. And as is true for you, it is and will be a part of me forever. On this day, I reserve the last word, or rather the last 2 words, that express all my hopes and dreams for you. Be happy. Thank you.